And now, as you can see on the bottom, our last example was adapted from the U.S. Declaration of Independence. Let's see what it says. This is number 11. People are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights. Governments exist to protect those rights. When a government violates those rights, people have a right to rebel against that government and create a new one. The King of Great Britain has repeatedly violated the rights of the American colonists. Thus, the American colonists have a right to rebel against the King of Great Britain. Okay, now the first thing we want to do, as we do with all arguments, is figure out what the conclusion is. So we notice that right before that last sentence, we had that word thus. Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but we can't come to any conclusion by the location of the statement. That is, we've had statements that are at the beginning that are conclusions, statements in the middle that are conclusions, and statements at the end that are conclusion. But I think in this case, I think it's pretty clear that our conclusion is going to be that last sentence, the one that comes after the thus. Now, we've got to ask ourselves, are all of these premises? And let's kind of copy them in here and see how it works out that way. In fact, let's make the original argument a little bit smaller so we have enough room to look at all of our premises and conclusions. Okay, and let's say people are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights. Governments exist to protect those rights. When a government violates those rights, people have the right to rebel against the government and create a new one. The King of Britain has repeatedly violated those rights, the rights of the American colonists, not columnists, not guys who write for a newspaper. Therefore, the American colonists have the right to rebel against the King of England. Now, is this right? Do we need all those premises? Let's see. Let's just see 3, 4, and 5. When a government violates those rights, people have a right to rebel against the government and create a new one. The King of Great Britain has repeatedly violated the rights of the American colonists. I mean, just from 3 and 4, 5 itself should follow. So, why do we need 1 and 2, or do we need 1 and 2? Are those really premises? People are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights. Governments exist to protect those rights. Maybe we have a little bit more. Maybe we really almost have 2 arguments together in one argument. That is, it looks like 1 and 2 may themselves be an argument for 3. So it looks like we kind of have 2 arguments, one for the conclusion that's number 3 and one for number 5. Now this is a little bit complicated, and we won't get up to it later. But now notice what we've done. We've tried to figure out what the conclusions are based on the conclusion. We sometimes have words helping us out, premise indicators, conclusion indicators helping us to figure out what they are. And now our next step in dealing with arguments is going to have to do with figuring out whether the logic is good in the argument and whether there's a good factual basis. But we will take those on in due course. And this is the last one that I asked you to work on.